I want us to begin with that conversation about the rain and the havoc it's wreaking in different parts of the country. Like we told you earlier on, you see that the front page of the Daily Nation, West Pokot death rise as rain wreak havoc. They are reporting that 52 people have already been confirmed to have died in the mudslides, and several others are missing. On the Standard also, they have a story about the challenges that people are facing there as they try to reach that area. I'm trying to look for that story on page 8 of the Standard. So you'll see even the visit that was made by Deputy President William Ruto, of course, overflying the area and eventually getting to Kapenguria County Hospital. And I want to begin with you, Senator Samson Cherargei, because that is near home. And looking at the situation since the rains wreaked havoc on Saturday, how would you rate the response that we have seen so far in that area?
I think of course, it depends with the agencies, but of course, from the multi-agency of the government, I would rate it at 20%. 20%? Yeah, we would have expected more in terms of response. But before I say that, I want to convey my deepest condolences to the families of the affected and those who are in hospital, quick recovery. And we hope going forward, such disasters was expected. And interestingly enough, we have resources that are always allocated through the budget, be it at the county level or the national government, but they have not strongly been able to address such situation. And as I conclude that part is that when you compare the disaster response and management from Kenya and other countries, I think we are doing badly, because yesterday we saw senior government officials not flying to the affected area simply because the weather was very bad. And therefore it shows our, we don't care. We don't really give care, because if you see senior leaders don't want to go to the affected area to assist.
I thought I saw CS Fred Matiang'i, Eugene, Wamalwa, and later on the Deputy President. Why would you say that senior leaders don't want to get into that area?
No, for example, the CS in charge of coordination and interior, Matiang'i and Devolution, Wamalwa, and county commissioners went and stayed in Eldoret airstrip and said we are waiting for, and they had a military chopper. They failed to go there. They waited for around many hours, and then they came back to Nairobi saying that the weather to West Pokot was very poor and they could not risk. And yet Eldoret to West Pokot is 1.5 hours. So if you look senior, how would you expect the people who are coordinating if their bosses are not committed?
Dr. Fred Matiang'i and Eugene Wamalwa, they are not experts in weather matters. If they advise that their choppers cannot fly to that area, what are they to do?
They should have used the road is 1 hour 30 minutes.
Okay.
When you are talking about lives, you are talking about people suffering, where you should be able, that confidence, they should have been able to go there and ensure that they assist the people.
Okay, so Senator Linturi.
Yeah, we want to understand this thing for the benefit of all of us, and for us to put it into the right context. Because whatever my good friend is saying, probably it would benefit us if we got to understand, yes, senior ministers or government officials did not get there because the weather was bad. How did the DP get there?
That is what the big question, because when you look at the Auditor's General report,
if the weather was bad, the DP got himself to that place.
Right.
Yes. It's more senior than these others, right? So government was represented there.
Right.
But now, since his juniors could not get there, probably it would be important for us to understand.
Now, what I can say, first condolences to all the family members who have lost their lives. May I start with the weather forecast people. They should have forecast earlier enough that we are going to have heavy rains in West Pokot, and preparation for those people so that they can be aware. As we can see, we have already lost 58 lives, and we hear many more are missing. People cannot account for their members who are missing. There are so many people who are missing. And when something like this one happens, we are supposed to be prepared enough to be there for these people. These are Kenyans. We are supposed to be there early enough to go and assist them. When you're in need, that is when you know your government better.
Right.
This is the time these people should be feeling the warmth of their government, because they're in dire need, and everybody should be there. Our focus should be there right now to assist them. Yeah.
Well, of course, there was that story earlier on that we saw from Stephen Leto, is on the ground telling us of the difficulty in terrain. Of course, the roads have been cut off. But I want us to focus on In the bigger picture, now beyond this, because this has already happened, yes, and there is a chance that it can recur, how exactly do we fix our disaster response ways? Because every time there is such a thing, we always have delays. We always have delayed humanitarian response.
I think what I can say is, as Parliament, we must fast-track the passage of disaster management bill, which is in the National Assembly, and we hope before we go for the Christmas holidays, we should have been able to, President should have assented. This should allow multi-agency team in terms of easy coordination. Disasters happen, and I've seen the Meteorological Department has issued several counties that are on red alert that need. So the big question is we should have a proper coordination to, for example, when you go to Brazil, there was a dam collapse called Brumadinho.
Right.
There is different levels of handling response and management. And therefore, I believe if we have proper legal mechanism. And secondly, we should also give these resources to counties. Why should we wait from the CS from Nairobi to allocate AIE for purchasing supplies from Nairobi or Eldoret, yet that money can be given to the county government of West Pokot, where there is easy response and they can intervene.
But when is that made? When is that paid out? When do you want it paid out? When disaster strikes or even before?
No, even before.
Before. This, for example, before Mheshimiwa comes in, is that I've seen Meteorological Department, even my county has been listed on the red alert that there might be landslides, there might be floods, and it is known. It is something that is known by these people who are experts, and yet this money is being held in Nairobi. We need counties to be given this money, because by the time you can see if the chopper could not land in West Pokot, and maybe they were the help.
Gituko is like having an insurance. You don't have an insurance because you become sick.
Right.
You just keep it there just in case
you become sick.
You need to use it. Right now, we don't only talk about West Pokot as we're speaking right now. We hear the other counties that are heavily affected. We should be asking ourselves, do we wait for disasters to strike, or we should act earlier? We have seen how the weather has forecast, and we have seen how the weather is like. So we should now be bringing everybody on board. County governments, their governors, especially these areas that have been marked that
at high risk.
Yes, at high risk. Because if we wait for a situation like this to happen, then it means we are going to lose so many other lives. And yet we could have prevented it from happening.
Senator, I saw a communication from the acting county secretary of West Pokot issuing a pay bill number to the public on how they want to raise funds to support those that have been affected. Is this the right thing to do? And how better can how better can counties prepare for such emergencies so that when it strikes, you're able to respond to your residents as soon as possible?
Just before I make my comment, let me also join my good friends in saying Pole to the affected families and the entire county of West Pokot. We really sympathize with the situation. And we pray God's intervention at this moment in time, so that the energy and the power to really bear with the loss of their loved ones. And Gituku, I have heard my friends make some comments which I think require to be expounded on. And especially I would want to say that both the national and the government national governments have been quite inept in terms of what they are supposed to do as a responsible governments. If it is indeed true, because that I didn't know, that there are areas that have been classified as high risk, then it is wrong for the government to have just classify areas without getting into the right information to the people and telling them, you know, whenever rains are coming, these are the areas that are no-go zones, and for that matter, people are supposed to be evacuated for those areas. Preventive mechanisms are to me, more important than the disaster response management systems that we want to put in place, because you'll be acting after the disaster and we will have already borne the loss. Even the department, either the Department of Geology or the Meteorological, or whichever department, is responsible with the monitoring of the earth movements, and they are able to tell when there will be tremors, when there will be heavy landslides, then they can know, I know they can be able to say with a lot of specificity that this will happen here and there. And for that matter, people must be tuned in advance so that they're able to prepare. There's an aspect of telling people, move from the low, move to high ground or areas so safer. The common mwananchi in the village there will not understand which ground is higher, which is safer, or where they are. Because, you know, when you just make such a comment, even to a man like me, I will understand high ground meaning like going to the mountain on top, or getting on the top of a tree, which is not really the situation, because you must be comparing certain parameters for you to decide an area is high or an area is low, and depending on the flow of how the flow of water, how are the movements are expected to be during such time. So I would ask the national government and the county governments to be more vigilant. Otherwise, this the act of negligence on their side is, in my view, is too high, and we cannot really continue to live.
But the question of the acting county secretary calling for financial assistance via pay bill number,
you know, that's the next area I was trying to get.
The government that is responsible.
Yeah, that's where I was getting to. First of all, let's all understand that, for example, I sit in the Committee on Public Accounts, the Senate, and when there is no money in circulation in an economy like Kenya, because people have become poor, and they expect them even to get poorer, and then you're asking people to carry a boat and go around begging, when that county government itself owes the people of the county of Pokot so much money in terms of paying bills, and then at the same time you are borrowing from them. And when you have a budget, you know, when you have a budget to do something as a government, as a responsible government, it's easier to raise money through public financing. But there's an aspect of asking people to contribute. How much money can we contribute really seriously? There are other agencies that you can appeal to. I thank the Americans and the Red Cross that has just come in to chip in this matter. National government should equally do this, because they have money for emergencies, and even if they don't, there is money for contingencies.
Right now, Gituko.
Yes, Mushma.
So when will you finish whatever one
I want to chip in so that we can conclude on this topic.
No, I'm also actually picking from where he has stopped, and I want to say that right now the diseases that will come out of this is very high, especially for children and mothers, because the waterborne diseases, you see everywhere there's water. So why we say the government need to be there, all 360, every sector need to be there, because the health sector now should be there as we are speaking right now, because these people are sleeping outside. Water is all over. They don't have anybody to help them. So I can also, Senator, try to imagine why the secretary was asking for money, because maybe it is taking longer to get to them, and maybe there are medicine that need to be bought. It is where it is. No, maybe when a situation like this comes up and you're not getting help from where you think should be coming from, you stand there and do what you think best. Maybe if you don't have enough, and maybe you have said, where is the government to assist, and there's no money. Let's assume right now there's no money in the county government. Let's assume there's no money. And there's a situation like this one that has, I can even call you, Gituko, to tell you, do you think you can give me this so that I can just get food and get to these people? They are suffering. I can imagine, Senator, these people are suffering.
All right. I just want to take a look at the statement that was released by the acting county secretary. It says that following the calamity that befell West Pokot County, where several lives were lost and many people displaced by landslide, we wish to inform members of the public that the following is the official M-Pesa pay bill number for soliciting funds towards helping the victims. And of course, the number is given there, and the account number you have to use is the individual name or the organization. And then they say, note that no other pay bill number should be used to solicit funds from members of public for the same purpose. Is this what devolution meant to achieve? That's a question that remains unanswered. We now